Okay, this is going to be chapter 17 of the Reappearance of Rachel Price. 17. Horns and hay watchets as Ash pulled off the main road into a parking spot by the North Conway Library. American roads are hell, he said, waving an apology out of his window, turning off the engine. To be fair, Belle said, you're a terrible driver. He glared at her, pulling his cap back on. To be even more fair, you're a terrible passenger. Could give me a bit more warning before yelling at me to turn. That wouldn't be as fun. Belle grabbed the backpack between her legs and opened the car door. You were something else, Ash muttered under his breath, though he never specified what that something else was, climbing out the other side. He collected the camera from the back seat, running his fingers over the fluff of the microphone, checking the battery. Then he grabbed his bag, one of those mini leather backpacks. It looked stupid on him. Nice bag. My mom's, he said. Get the best hand-me-downs from her and my sisters. Belle nodded, eyes wide and unkind to contradict her smile. She'd never had or given hand-me-downs, only hand-me-down sidewayses to Carter when they were kids and Bella grew her jeans. They crossed the road, Belle looking ahead at Baba Boutique, a quaint storefront, wooden slats painted seaside white and blue, though the sea was a very long way away. Next door to a store called World Magic Gifts, with window displays full of dream catchers and antlers, sculptures that stared as Belle and Ash approached. Ash pressed record on the camera, centering the shot on Belle, panning up to show the name of the boutique and the little sheep logo. Don't you need to say action or rolling or something? Action or rolling or something, he said with a lopsided grin. Belle pushed open the door, a small bell jangling above her head, not holding the door for Ash, letting him struggle with it. She walked past a rack of clothes, a cropped yellow t-shirt at the front, reading Pugs Not Drugs, with a sad chubby pug in the middle, the kind of thing Ash would probably wear. She turned back and caught him eyeing it, reaching out. Focus, she hissed, batting his fingers away. We're not here to shop. You just look so sad, little guy. Ash stuck out his bottom lip. Needs a loving home. Belle rolled her eyes at the camera lenses, the two of them in cahoots right under Ash's nose. She led them up to the register where a woman in her 40s was writing out labels, wearing a white and blue striped top that matched the front of the store. Welcome to Baba Boutique, she said, bored, glazed behind the eyes until she saw Ash, until she straightened up and lengthened her neck, pushing her dark hair to one side. How may I help you? She asked him. We're here to see the owner, Alice Moore, Belle said, failing to get the woman's full attention back from Ash. That's me, she said, lines forming around her mouth as she finally noticed the camera in his hands. What? We're filming for a documentary, Belle explained. The disappearance of Rachel Price. Ash coughed. Actually, the reappearance of Rachel Price now. Oh, the news. It's just amazing, really. Alice trailed off, finally looking at Belle, eyes circling. But you look so much like... You must be her. Alice stammered, left her and her aborted sentence hanging there. Yes, this is Belle, Ash stepped in. Rachel's daughter. Oh, sweetie. Alice gave Belle her full attention now. You must be so happy to finally have your mom back home with you. Yeah, I must be, Belle said, leaving another awkward gap for Ash. Could I get you to sign one of these release forms? He said, pulling one out of his comically small backpack. To consent to having your face and voice in this documentary. Yes, of course. Alice took the form, signing it after one quick glance without reading it, handing it back. Though I'm not sure why you're filming me. I don't even know anyone who knows Rachel. Actually, Belle said, taking charge, we're here to talk to you about something you posted on your Facebook in January, that you thought you saw Rachel Price here in your store. Oh, yes. Alice dropped her face, a breathy laugh, letting them in on the joke. Obviously, I was wrong. It couldn't have been her. Now we know where poor Rachel really was. But could you tell us about the sighting, about the woman you saw? Even though we now know it can't have been Rachel, Belle pushed. The woman narrowed her eyes. I don't understand. You know, Belle pulled back, speaking behind her hand like they were old friends. That was how old friends spoke, right? It's just filler for the documentary, some background stuff to pad out the juicy bits, show how widely known Rachel's case was before she came back. Belle didn't leave her any more room to not understand, pushing again. This woman might have the answers to unlocked Rachel's lies, and Belle was damn well going to get them. So can you tell us about this woman you saw? Alice paused to clear her throat. I mean, I couldn't see a lot of her. Maybe that's why I convinced myself it had been Rachel. She was wearing a mask, you know, a surgical mask, a COVID mask, so I could only see her eyes really. And she was wearing a beanie. It was freezing out. Her hair was long, though, almost down to her waist, a darkish blonde, like Rachel's when she disappeared. We didn't interact much, just when she came up to the register. There was nothing remarkable about it, but I looked at her eyes and I just had this thought like, oh my god, she looks like Rachel Price. I didn't say anything and I kicked myself later when I convinced myself it was her. I had to tell someone just in case so it didn't feel like a secret. So I put it on Facebook. Although now I would be kicking myself if I'd said something to her, because it clearly couldn't have been your mom. Sure, Belle said, but she didn't mean it, because it was possible that that woman might just have been the real Rachel Price, and who was supposed to kick themselves then? But if it was Rachel, Belle needed proof, evidence. Do you have any cameras in the store? Would they have recorded this woman? Yes, Alice said. I checked the footage the next day to see if I was going crazy. Can we see the footage? Belle pressed. I don't have it anymore. It gets written over every week. Belle deflated. But I took a screenshot of the clearest image where she was standing right where you are now. Not the best quality, but it might still be on my phone. Hold on. Belle and Ash held on, exchanging looks while Alice pawed at her screen. Sorry, lots of my puppy, she said, swiping up. Here it is. She held out the phone to show them the photo, Ash zooming in on it, then out to catch Belle's reaction. She crouched closer, screwed her eyes. A woman in a dark puffer jacket and a mask, hair a similar color to Rachel's, long enough to catch in the crook of her elbow as she readjusted her mask, frozen that way. You couldn't see much of her face, the beanie covering where the birthmark might be. It could have been Rachel. There was nothing that counted that out. Using the mask and hat as a disguise, blending in plain sight. Or it could just be another pale woman with the same hair color. They weren't in short supply around here. Can you airdrop that photo to me? Belle said. Please, Ash added for her. Alice stared blankly. I don't know what that means. Here, Belle said, impatiently taking the phone out of Alice's hands. She pressed the blue spiral button, waiting for it to find her, then clicked to accept the photo on her device, handing Alice's phone back without looking. Thank you, Ash filled in again, but Belle was only half listening, zooming in on the pixelated face, barely a third covered. It was impossible to tell for sure, her gut swaying between yes and no. There was one way she wanted to push it. But if this was Rachel, what was she doing here? She came up to the register. Belle asked, but that wasn't her real question. Did she buy something? Alice nodded like that was an answer enough. And, Belle said, annoyed that she had to, what did this woman buy? Just 2 things, if I remember right. Alice rubbed her face like Belle's gaze had burned her. Oh, if only. She paid in cash, even though we have a sign saying we prefer card. She paused to point at said printed sign. I think she bought a pair of jeans and a top, that was all. Belle's ears pricked. So did the ball of tension in her gut listening in. What kind of top? A plain long-sleeve top. Red, I believe. I don't do boring colors. Belle's heart picked up. A red, long-sleeved top, she said, repeating it to make sure she'd heard right. Yes. And were the jeans black? I think so. Bit more versatile than blue, isn't it? Can wear them in the evening, too. Belle stalled, thinking it through. Alice didn't recognize what she just said. Maybe she only recognized Rachel Price from that one photo, the one they used on the missing posters and the news, Rachel wearing a white shirt. She couldn't see the significance of a red long-sleeved top and a pair of black jeans, the clothes Rachel was wearing when she disappeared, the same clothes she had on when she reappeared, falling apart, tattered, and stained. Belle, Ash said, not understanding her pause or understanding it and checking she was okay. Belle ignored him. Do your items have labels on them? Of course, Alice beamed. Baba Boutique, too good of a name not to put it in all the clothes. Can I help you look for something, sweetie? Is it for your mom? Belle didn't speak, so Ash did again, awkward and shuffling. I like that pug shirt. Actually, we need to go, Belle said, holding on to Ash's overalls to spin him around, camera getting an undershot of her chin. Bye, thank you, bye, she called behind her, falling into the door, the bell clattering above them, frenzied and shrill. They didn't speak until they reached the car, and Belle realized she'd been holding on to him all the way. She let go and they climbed in. Ash was still recording, camera pointed at her from his lap. What? He sniffed. Did you think it was her? I thought the photo was too blurry to tell for sure, and she's so covered up. No, yes, no, Belle said, unsure which word should come out first. Yes, the photo isn't clear. Could be her, could not. Obviously had to have her hair cut off since. But the things she bought, red top and black jeans, he asked, unsure. Ash, no offense. Well, a bit offense. Have you been paying any attention to this documentary you're making? She rounded on him, the camera a barrier between them. Those are the clothes Rachel was wearing the day she disappeared. The same clothes she was wearing when I found her walking home on Saturday. Dirty, ripped, full of holes, like she'd been wearing the same clothes for the past 16 years. Except what if she hadn't? What if that's just what she wanted it to look like? Ash's eyes changed. So you're saying... I'm saying what if she no longer had those original clothes she disappeared in? She would have needed to buy some as similar as possible for her grand planned reappearance. If so, then it's possible that was her here in January, close by but in disguise, a COVID mask. That could explain how she's been moving around at least for the past 4 years hiding her identity. Could you distress a top and jeans that much, get them to rags in just a few months? Probably, Ash said, if you were motivated enough. But it's not, solid evidence. What that lady remembers that unknown woman buying. Belle knew that. She knew she needed something more concrete if she was going to expose Rachel as a liar, convince Dad and the police. But this was stronger than a coincidence, she was sure. She could allow this one fluke, the timing of the documentary and Rachel's return, but she couldn't allow another. The clothes meant something, a match lit under her, burning in her belly, proof enough that her gut feeling had been right all along. Tell me what you're thinking, Ash said. I think you sound like Ramsay, she replied, a surge of new energy climbing up her spine. She rolled her head to let it out, cracking her neck. I don't know about her disappearance yet, but it's starting to look like Rachel planned her own reappearance, that she's been back for more than just a few days, which means the basement can't be real. The man can't be real, and for some reason she wants the world to think they are. She hesitated. Does that sound crazy? Ash shook his head. No, I mean, you are definitely crazy, but not for that. She smiled at him, a real one that she didn't think twice on. Mate, I reckon we did an all-right job back there, you and me, he said, scratching his nose. The old good cop, bad cop routine. Which one's the bad cop? Belle asked, still smiling on purpose this time. Ash gaped at her. Come on, seriously?